My name is Kyle. I am speaking to you all from Boston, where our EF North American headquarters is. And I am one of the, I guess, more senior members of our EF Gap Year team, oversee few different things, mostly our enrollment team, and are fortunate to be able to talk with a lot of students and parents and see students in action. So tonight you are going to learn about who EF is. You'll learn more about what our EF Gap Year programs are, and then most importantly, we will hone in on what support looks like for all of our students on program. So as we start the conversation tonight, I just want to give everyone a quick background on who we are as an organization. Probably the easiest way to put it is that we are the world leader in educational travel. So almost for 60 years at this point, coming up on 60 years, we have quite literally helped millions of people to travel to new places, to experience new things, new cultures, new languages, to discover new things about the world, and to discover new things about themselves in the world. So we come to this conversation tonight with a pretty deep expertise and experience running a wide range of educational programs, which we actually have programs starting for students in middle school and then all the way up through to adults. So some of you actually may know us because we partner with thousands of high schools across the United States with our EF educational tours. We also work with hundreds of different universities with our EF study abroad and our EF higher ed division, which also includes some of our gap year team. And we are an organization that has over 50,000 staff worldwide in over 110 plus countries. So the probably one of the coolest things to be able to work in an organization like ours is that everywhere that we talk about this evening, everywhere that we have our students on program and on the ground, excuse me, are all places that we actually have an EF staff, offices, school. We've got people who are local and really help us to make sure that the experience is personal and then supported in a unique fashion. So with that experience, I'll just give some insight into how and why we've designed our GAP programs the way that we do. I think we, especially the last few years coming out of the crazy whirlwind that is 2020, let's just leave it there. We know that students probably more so than ever are looking to be that happy and fulfilled adult. And what that means in the modern world is just different than it did, a decade ago, certainly a few decades ago, when we know with the shifting landscape of the world and education thrown on top of that, there's a lot that's happening in our students. Our gap year students, 18 to 22-year-old students, are really stuck in the middle of that, trying to navigate their best next step, trying to navigate university, trying to navigate careers, things that they're passionate about, the economics of all of those things fitting together. And we see and believe that education, like we say, education can happen anywhere, and it does not have to be inside the four walls of a classroom. And I think more and more, and probably increasingly so, is that real learning, real growth can truly happen anywhere. So our job is to be able to facilitate that and give students the opportunities to connect with themselves, with each other, with other students, and hopefully with some incredible places that help push the boundaries of their perspective, their understanding. And even though it might sound a little cheesy, maybe want to encourage them to chase some dreams and chase something that's a little bit bigger than themselves. So to summarize that, everything that we do on all of our gap year programs is really meant to help students thrive in an ever-changing world. And for many of our students, that might mean that they're taking their first step into university. We also have many students that are joining us somewhere along their college journey, or even after they've graduated, as a way to supplement that more traditional education. So when we talk about programs, tonight's just a quick touch on what those are, but we offer a few different categories of programs. So we have short term, which are typically around a month and happen in the summer, the fall, and the spring. Our alumni, Alex, is going to talk about her experience on one of our short-term programs. We also have semester offerings in the fall and the spring, fairly traditional semester length options, quite literally all over the world. And then we are actually the only organization that offers a full gap year program split over 2 semesters that works together to really round out the entire experience for our students. I'm skipping into support because that's part of the focus for our chat this evening. And when we think about those 3 categories of programs, These are going to be the core elements, the makeup of support on any program that any of our students participate in. So first off, everything that we do is cohort based. So you will always be with other students. Again, I've mentioned it, but that age range 18 to 22, so that you're with other like-minded students that are in a similar part of life to you. Second is going to be, let's call it our core on-program staff. So those are going to be our tour directors who are really like our logistics leaders, managing our accommodations, our hotels, our transitions. They know the areas that we're traveling to really well. They partner with some of our local guides, which will have for additional support depending on the program, depending on the location. We also have our team of advisors. So these are folks that work out of our Boston office and are supporting all of our students from the time that they're enrolled, so all the way through that pre-departure phase, and then they're supporting you while you're on program. And then lastly, but maybe most importantly, would be our student life coordinators, which Jeanelle has served as an SLC, a student life coordinator, on 2 different programs for us this past year. Um, I think Jeanelle embodies what we would want from a student life coordinator, someone who is incredibly knowledgeable, passionate, caring for our students, and really there to support the health of the group. So the physical health, the mental health, the well-being, and hopefully raise the quality of their experience overall. For all of our programs, we do all the organizing. So all the flights, the accommodations, meals, support, emergency support. We take care of all of that. And some of the nuances around meals can vary depending on location, but the big pieces of accommodations, transportation, flights, all of that is always going to be included for us. Um, and just as we think about, our team, I think, we're fortunate, we've got a number of our team that are on program with some of our students right now and sharing stories and sharing photos. And our alumni, again, our panelists here can speak to it. But I think what we do at the core is facilitate connection. And we facilitate connection between people, between places. These are some of our tour directors. Our guy Hector in the middle, down in the Dominican Republic with a number of our students right now, is one of our fan favorites and runs our service programming there. But these are the type of folks that our students are meeting and connecting with throughout the year. So just to give you a taste of what some of these experiences are, we have in the short-term category a month-long program, really tour de force through major cities and countries in Europe. Costa Rican exploration, which is what Alex participated in. There is a new name for this program, Alex, but it's the same program that you participated in. Deep dive into a number of different cities throughout Costa Rica. Then we also offer a few different language-based programs in Japan and in Spain, and then East Asian exploration with a deep dive into both Japan and Korea in one program together. Expanding on that, when we get into our semester programs, we've got options like the Pathfinder in Europe, centered around time in Iceland, the UK, France, Germany, Switzerland, and Italy. We have, again, language programs in Spain as well as Japan. Jeanelle was fortunate to lead as an SLC on the Changemaker. I might leave some stories for her to be able to unpack, but spending time in Costa Rica, the DR, Peru, the Galapagos, an amazing tour all through Central and South America. The Voyager, which has become one of our most popular programs, combining time in Australia, New Zealand, service work in Thailand, as well as a month in Japan, or an internship as part of our business and entrepreneurship program in Stockholm, Sweden. We also have a kind of a newer avenue within our offerings, but credit-bearing study abroad programs. So for students that really want to stay on track with their academics, or maybe just want to ensure that they are getting academic credit for any program that they participate, we've got a few different options in varying length and varying focus, but all of them really centered around a specific theme, a partnership with local universities, and a little bit more of a traditional academic feel, but also plenty of fun and travel and excursions built in, because that's what we do. That's our specialty. If you've gotten a sense of what we were talking about so far, the gap year really brings all of those different elements together with time in Europe, Australia, Thailand. The spring, you have the choice to either do a deep dive with 10 weeks of language immersion or an internship in Stockholm. We're a Swedish organization at heart, so Stockholm is near and dear to us, and we've got a big office and a number of staff there as well. So this helps give everybody a taste. I think our team, our goal is really to understand what each student that we speak with, what their goals are, and how we can help them get there. So a lot of our planning is typically somewhere between 9 and 15, 16 months in advance to make sure we can put together payment plans, financial plans, the logistics of just making an experience like this happen. So if anything's resonating with you tonight, hopefully the next step can be to actually connect and speak with our team from there. Okay, Jeanelle and Alex, time to fire those cameras back up. We're getting to the fun part where we can actually chat with you guys. So I'm going to put up your slides, and then Jeanelle, I might just ask you, maybe you can give us a sense of a little bit in your background. So where you're from, and then you can just talk about the programs that you led in this past year.
Sure. Thank you for the intro, Kyle, and welcome everyone. I've been so lucky to be able to be an SLC, Student Life Coordinator, for two programs this year, for the Changemaker the semester program and the short-term Costa Rica program. And my background is in education. So I was formerly a public school ESL English teacher, and have left the traditional classroom and found that there's a lot of ways to learn and facilitate learning outside of that classroom context. And so I've done some work museums and nonprofits, and really kind of stumbled across international education and EF as this as a beautiful program, gap programs, to really get to connect with students still in this context of education, but not with grades, not with tests, not with the stresses of schooling and that system, and instead really be there hands-on, having the experience. And it's been a delight.
Don't give too much of your background, Jeanelle. I don't want anybody else to hire you away from us. But thank you so much. And we're so fortunate to find you as well. All right, Alex, let's have you. So maybe you can tell us where you're from, what program you participated on, and I would just be curious if there is I know that we're gonna talk about this more, but as you describe what you participated on, if there is a specific place, some of them are listed here, but any particular place that really stands out to you as one of your favorite from your time on program.
Awesome. So I'm Alex. Alex is my full name. I am from New York, and I took part on the short-term Costa Rican. Well, when I took it, it was called the Sustainable Development Program, but now I see it's changed to Exploration.
Yep.
And so it's
Same
very
program, new name.
focused. I don't know if I love that, but okay. I'm off track. My favorite place, one of my favorite places was definitely Osa. It's the fourth one down there, and it's because we were smack dab in the middle of the rainforest with barely, it was like no internet, only one place had it, and I saw incredible nature, like stuff you see on documentaries, you see there in real life. That was crazy. So definitely Osa.
Amazing. That's a good place. All right, we might have to unpack that a little bit more. So tonight we have a lot of things that we need to hear from both of you, and I think if we can start and just unpack the general, like, how did you find your way here? So Alex, I actually would love to start with you, and we'll take the screen share off just so we can talk and keep it casual tonight. But what was it that had you even considering doing some version of a gap year? Yeah, so maybe you can tell us that story, and then how did it evolve to finding EF, and how did you find that at the time sustainable development in Costa Rica was a good fit for you?
So my parents have always wanted me to do a gap year ever since I started high school, and I was always like, no, I'm not. I'm graduating college with my friends. I'm graduating high school, sorry, with my friends. I'm starting college with my friends. I'm going to graduate college with my friends, same class. And I was just like, we're going. That's what we're doing. But then COVID hit. And at first, I didn't think that I was very impacted by it at all, because I loved getting out of bed 5 minutes before class, opening my laptop and being like, hi, I'm here. But then I noticed that my brain completely changed in senior year. My motivation like went out the window, and it was completely not the person that I've known myself to be my entire life. Like, I am an overachieving, self-motivated student. I get home from school and I do my homework and I study, get good grades, like it's all that. And then senior year hit and it was just, I did not care, and it was very scary. And I decided that I needed a break from learning and school after months of just going back and forth and wondering what was wrong. Um, it was mainly the fear that something was wrong with my brain that made me decide that I actually need a break. And so then when I brought it up, of course, my parents were ecstatic because that's what they wanted. And I was always like, no. And then I talked to my guidance counselor and she thought it was a fantastic idea. And then she sent me a list of all these programs and yours was on it. And so I looked into it, and that is how I ended up here. Oh, and sustainable development, because I am very interested in environmental science and conservation. And just seeing the word sustainable development, I was like, yep, okay, I'm gonna go there. And then I also heard that Costa Rica was 99% renewable energy, which is insane. So that chose it for me.
Thank you so much, Alex. Now, there's something that about your story that I feel like is very important, which is you had this big shift. You had this shift of like, I am this way. I am going to college. Like, this is who I am as a student. I do this thing, to a pretty massive shift of saying, you know what, maybe a gap experience of some sort actually could be beneficial. So I'm just wondering, how did you get there? How did you reconcile like actually accepting that and allowing yourself and giving yourself permission to do a gap or to take a gap program? Because that must have been hard.
Yeah, it was very hard because especially when I went to talk about it with different people, I would get such mixed reactions. Like, I really had some stranger in a grocery store tell me that like it's a waste of my potential because she assumed that I was a bad student if I was taking a gap year. And I hated that because that is completely not true. And then kind of I just wanted to prove her wrong and just be that statistic that's like, actually, I'm a good student, but I need that break. Um, and I think I took a 5 month break from my instrument because I'm a musician and I've gone to like all the music schools and stuff like that. And realizing how much that helped me fall in love with my instrument again, I was like, I feel like I need that for school because I thought I lost my learning spark and I wasn't interested in anything really. And I thought that maybe taking a break would like help me find my way back to wanting to become a student again.
We're skipping to the end, but how do you feel about your decision at this point?
Oh, fantastic. I could not be happier. I wish I actually did one of the longer one of the longer programs, but I had a problem with my passport, which is figure that out before you decide to do this.
Yes. Cool. That's awesome, Alex. Thanks so much for sharing. We're gonna be back to you in a second. We're gonna flip it over to Jeanelle. And Jeanelle, I think from you, would love to just hear a little bit on like talk to us about your passion about travel, about international travel, about education, and like how did that lead you to ultimately finding EF and deciding to be in an SLC for our programs?
Yes, I love traveling. I was someone who really loved languages when I was younger. I love words, and I didn't necessarily, when I was in high school or middle school, have the chance to travel much. It wasn't until actually I got a scholarship this summer after graduating high school to go to Guatemala for 2 weeks. I really wanted to go, couldn't quite afford the program, got a scholarship that made it possible, and it really changed the trajectory for me of because yeah, I got to practice Spanish. My roommate was from Guatemala, and it was very I loved being immersed in a different culture, and it just stuck with me. Like going, it was only short. It was only 2 weeks. It was very short, but that led to more opportunities later in college of getting a grant to teach in France and like work in Germany in the summers. And I think that just remembering myself, like going to Guatemala right after high school and then finding more chances to be funded to travel and use language to travel, just really made me want to share that as well, and like be in a community that was either traveling sometimes for the first time in a big way as a group, as a cohort. And it's pretty magical when you can have those. I had my dictionary, I remember, in Germany. I would carry it around. That's probably not a strange thing to remember, but no, I love travel, and to have a job that allows me to do that is amazing.
And you mentioned before that, specifically you've started to find this niche in maybe non-traditional education, if it's fair to like call that a broad umbrella. But I'd be curious on your take, and we don't have to revisit your resume, but I think anybody that would see it on paper would be very impressed, just to be clear about that. But what is it about, knowing that you've led programs for this last year with GAP students specifically, like what's your take on the power that a gap year provides and that opportunity? And there's a lot of confusion and misunderstanding. Alex, I think your story about the person in the grocery store sounds spot on in a lot of ways. There's a lot of doubters when it comes to a gap year, but I think, what's your perspective as someone who's led programs and met a lot of students participating on that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think something I noticed on this past program in the fall is people are coming together for different reasons, but also shared reasons, right? Of their why of a gap year. And I think some of that is really taking this intentional time completely away from what's familiar. Maybe you went to high school with the same people your whole life. Maybe you were in the same community your whole life. And it's easy to know yourself just from that story. That's what I heard from students is, I am this, like to my friends, I am this, to my family, I am this. Like, this is the story I have for myself in my own context. But when you're away from that, when you're in a completely different country and culture, language, food, everything is different. Like, you have a chance to get to know yourself and as a different story than you are telling yourself, and not only as an individual but as a community, because really you're a big part of these programs is also the community that forms as a group. So how you are seen in that group, how are you able to connect as a team with this shared question of looking for something, searching for something. Yeah, I think it can shake you out of yourself and get you to listen to, okay, wait, what do I love more? And I loved having those conversations with a lot of students.
Sounds like you were able to see some of that unfold in front of you too. Is that fair to assume? Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Often. Okay, great. All right, Alex, let's come back over to you and let's shift. So we talked a little bit about how you found your way to this program. What was it like once you actually were in Costa Rica? So maybe let's do two questions here. So first is like, just give us some of the, like, what were the fun things? Like, what are the things that you remember that stand out that you were like, wow, that was really awesome and fun to participate in? Why don't we just start with that one?
Well, there are a lot of good options.
You can just share any ones that come to mind. We don't have to do a super deep dive, but just give people a taste of like what some of the things were that you were experiencing.
One of the places, La Isla, it was kind of in the middle of the program. That place we replanted lots of mango trees, and they get planted in the mud, and I mean like mud, because it's like in the water. They let the river overflow it and stuff like that. And we had so many assembly lines going, and it was just passing the sapling from person to person and then bending down to pick it up or bending down to plant it in the mud and getting stuck in the mud with our boots that we had to buy there that were like this tall, and we're all like pulling each other out of the mud and then falling into it. Like, it was a mess, and I don't think I've ever been dirtier in my entire life before. But it was also ridiculously fun because we were building like team bonds, and we were connecting with one each other even more, and we were also helping the earth, which was incredible. So I think definitely that is my top moments. Oh, and sea turtles, baby sea turtles. We worked with baby sea turtles. How could you not love that? We saw them, put them on the beach, and saw them like go to the ocean. Like and had to prevent the coatis and the birds from eating them, which is sad, but we did it. It was great.
Great
So,
job. Those are two great examples. Thank you. Yeah, and so those are some awesome moments. And I would imagine that it took some time to acclimate to the group and like really warm yourself up to be able to be in a spot where you can be in the mud and be comfortable and not be like, oh my God, there's these people that I've never met. I'm stuck in the mud. I'm moving these trees. So talk to us about when you get on program, you meet your cohort, you meet Jeanelle, you meet your tour director. What is that process like? What was that experience like going through that?
honestly, I had a pretty large flight group. There were five of us, 5 or 6 of us flying from the same airport in, and so a lot of us had made that. We were just any teenager we saw, we are like, is that them? Could that be them? Could that be them? And then we'd literally just like go up to them and be like, hi, are you with EF? And then we just start talking. And so we kind of already created a group before we even got to Costa Rica. And then when we got there, we saw a bunch of different kids, and we all just like started talking about where we're from, the annoying icebreaker questions like Jeanelle knows that I don't like. But we started off with that. And Camilo, our tour guide, was amazing. He was like, he saw us immediately and just like said the loudest hola to us before. And it was like completely embarrassing, but it was okay because they were just a group of tourists coming in. And it was just, and Jeanelle gave off like the warmest energy possible to all of us new kids who literally did not know each other before. Like none of us knew each other. And I think they made acclimating to one another very easy. It was fantastic. One of the best icebreaker sessions I've ever had before.
Wow. And for someone who doesn't like icebreakers, that's a big compliment, right?
I know. I gave her such a hard time at the beginning. I was like, Jeanelle, I don't like icebreakers. They're terrible. And one interesting fact, like we were thinking about that on the plane ride over to Costa Rica because we knew it was coming. And she
Yeah.
didn't even ask that. It was great. They were all deep questions. It was fantastic. Okay.
Nice job. We all can learn some things there.
It was a big challenge. I knew.
It is a big challenge. Yeah. All right. So Janelle, we're shifting to like this on program part of the experience. Maybe can you just give us from your perspective, how would you describe your role as the student life coordinator, both from what you're doing and then maybe even how you're interfacing with like the tour director and the advisor team and the emergency team, like some other things that are there in terms of the safety and support network that actually people might not even see or know that much about. So it's a few things, but if you could help us understand that better.
Sure. Number one task to make icebreakers up to Alex's standards, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, so we yeah, and as an SLC we'll facilitate orientation, get to know you activities, goal setting, and then also our wrap up and reflection at the end. And each SLC kind of can make it their own, but we can facilitate other types of like activities throughout so we can process together throughout the journey. But my role could look like, some days it could be as simple as tag teaming with the tour director to make announcements on the bus, get the energy up, facilitate those positive group dynamics. But specifically, that could be going to the clinic sometimes because someone has a sore throat, or giving them food, or going to the pharmacy together. Or if there's it can be anything from anything really big, like there's an emergency, something unexpected happens, someone lost their phone, and making sure they're okay, they get what they need. Or it could be something like, oh, someone's feeling homesick, I'm here to check in with them. Really anything at all that someone needs or wants to talk about, that's what I'm here for. So what that often meant was great for me of I get to participate. I'm always there with everyone. It feels very natural for me to want that, to want to listen and get to know how the group is doing. So I think it often just flows really well of there is that part because the tour director is more focused on logistics and like knows the cultural context, is usually from the country, and then we work together, but I'm there for all things support, big or small.
You touched on this a bit, but I know for many of our students, this is maybe their first time traveling, maybe their first time traveling alone, or maybe first time traveling for a number of weeks consecutively, like a month being away from home more independently. What do you think is important both for students and parents to know when we think about, well, I want to make sure that I have support and that things are safe? Like, how would you speak to that?
Yes. Yeah, it's a big deal to be traveling for the first time alone. And I think as Alex mentioned too, on the plane ride, sometimes people already start meeting each other, which is great. But really once you arrive after flying, you've got support from the tour director and I all the way through, we're there for all the parts of the journey. There can be a mixture of independent moments and group moments, but it's structured in a way that we're really doing everything as a cohort. And if things go wrong, there's a whole network, not just on the ground with us who are there, but also back in the US, like headquarters, who have emergency lines 24/7 that can help us. There's also a new app that was introduced and I believe is on all the gap year programs called
Yes, all
Caraway.
programs.
Yes, amazing. Yeah, it's fantastic. Basically, you can chat 24/7. A nurse in the US or someone who knows medically has that knowledge and say, oh, I'm feeling this way. Do you have any advice? They can give you advice. If you need to go to a clinic, can recommend that's what you do. But I mean, obviously, you can also be talking with me. But if there are things that you just want to chat with someone who's a medical professional, you can do that. You can also talk with someone who's a therapist, like get mental health support, which is such a great resource.
Amazing. Thanks for unpacking that for us. Alex, let's get your take on this, right? So as somebody who's on program, how would you describe your relationship with Jeanelle, or like how did you work together? You spent a lot of time. Looks like you had a lot of fun. Yeah. How would you describe that?
Yeah, so we are never alone, like ever. And so I would describe Janelle's role as, or maybe just her herself, because I can't speak to other SLCs, but Janelle
Sure.
herself. Um, she was like our mother, but also a friend, because I feel like these advisory people who come on our trip are seen as like separate from us. They're like faculty and they are above us and they're just there to basically keep us safe. But like we told her all the drama that happened and we told her the tea that was spilled at like past locations after we left, of course, because some of them would like she doesn't need to know while we're there, but maybe afterwards. And I would say that she was always a comforting presence there because all of us had stuff and she listened to all of it. And I mean all of it and gave such sound advice. And even if we weren't looking for advice, she'd then just listen and like agree and be nice, even if we weren't right. Like, I think we definitely saw her as our mother, but also best friend, like very close friend. And I think that's really important because like she would let us go out as long as we told her what we're doing, where we're going, like they would let us go. And I felt like that was really important in just our bond so that we wouldn't see her as like someone who's controlling us and mainly like, yeah, someone who's there to prevent us from having fun. Like she was definitely there as a friend with an extra bonus of a nurse because she took a lot of us to the clinic, I think. So yeah.
And Alex, like when you think about just being supported and like making sure that you were safe, like do you feel like between was that Jeanelle that kind of served that purpose? Was that the tour director? Did you work with advisor? Like what was your experience in like just making sure that they were okay while you were traveling?
So I was actually robbed on the trip it was halfway through. We it was fine. It was only cash that was stolen, but it was
While you were away, right? It was at
scary.
your
Yes.
in your room. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So we all went out to one of our dinners that we have together, and then we came back. My room and I came back, and our room was like a mess. And then sliding doors were just broken. So it was obvious that something happened. But the way that both Jeanelle and Milo, our tour guide, responded was incredible. They took it so seriously, and they took me to every single like police station, investigation, location place, and I filed reports. And one place was closed after walking half a mile together and nonstop. We tried for like 2 solid weeks afterwards to make sure that I got my report filed so that I could get my refund, hopefully through like your insurance program. So I really commend their efforts. And then we switched hotels too, even though like we both, my roommate and I, acknowledged the fact that this could happen to anyone, anytime, any place. And we're like, we just happened to have a little bit of bad luck that night. Like maybe my mom was like, maybe the $200 that they took, they needed to feed their families, and the lollipops, because my lollipops disappeared that night. And so like we just kept it positive, and they helped me enforce that mindset, because I there's nothing you can do once that happens. But they were so supportive, and my friends and I were talking about it. We were maybe not shocked, but kind of shocked about how seriously they took it, because it's really just cash. Like, what are you gonna do about that? So, yeah.
Yep. Sorry to hear that happened. Glad that we can
Okay.
reflect back on it and hopefully manage it the best way that we can when things do come up. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Alex and Jeanelle, time always flies here. So I want to get to a portion where we can get some takeaways, right? So Alex, you've been back for not even so long at this point, but what do you think? What are some things that are sticking with you? What are some things that you want to take with you the rest of this year into 2024, into your next step in life? Like, what are those pieces that you feel like are things that you've gained that you want to stick with?
I know everyone says this after doing the gap year, but I think I've gained new perspectives on just how lucky my life is and what I have. Like, to be able to flush toilet paper down the toilet is a big thing. And having clean water to drink from any tap in my house, like the kitchen sink, bathrooms, like the bathtub, like that, I can all drink. But in over there, like you can't. We bought our own water for a certain location. Like, I think it really puts into perspective how privileged I am. And I know everyone says that, but it's really true. Like, I don't think you can say it until you experience it, and we experienced it. And so that's definitely one thing. And another thing is I made this gap semester or short-term program really working on fixing my mindset, from going from like, I need to fix my brain, I need to figure out what's wrong, fix it, and then go back to the way it was. And so this program, on our first day during the icebreakers workshop thing, we had to write down like different goals that we had, and mine was going from a fixed mindset to like an accept and work with mindset. And so I think I really learned how to work with my brain and how it works now, and like be okay with it, instead of like always trying to go back to the way it was. So for me, it was a lot of like self work. Like, I really worked on my people pleasing skills too over there. It was great, sort of. But yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna take away from this perspective, and me working on
Personal
myself.
development. Yeah.
Yeah.
Working on you. That's great, Alex. Thank you. And Jeanelle, so maybe from your perspective, right? And you, again, you have the fortune of this year, right? A few different groups of students doing different things. But what do you see, like, from students that are getting to the end and taking their next step off the program? Like, what's the growth? What are the takeaways that you see in students that you work with?
Yes, I think what I have seen for students is that if if the school system or people have told them, oh, you're this certain way, through like a school-based lens, like, oh, either you're not smart, or oh, you have to succeed in this certain way, or people have been labeled basically by by the system, I saw students coming away saying, oh, wait, like this excites me. Like being with the mangroves, oh my gosh, I love that. This like gives me light. Or also, I think for some, yeah, just really being excited about service. Like there are some people at Lifting Hands, an organization we worked with kids at, that went away saying, yeah, I want to work with kids. Like I was thinking about it, and now I feel like this is something I really love, and teaching English. And so that, I think seeing those moments of oh my gosh, yes, I love this thing, or wow, like there's this coconut from a tree right here, and this is amazing. Like we are eating it. Seeing those moments of new sparks of whoa, this is awesome, combined with I see myself, seeing yourself as having something to give. And that's what I sense people came away with. Like, we are in this community as a cohort, and now using the gifts that I have. As Alex knows, there's one student on our program that made everyone like origami star necklaces at the end on the last day. And I feel like there are ways that everyone had their talents to give to the group. I mean, Alex braided everyone's hair almost all the time, every day. And so we had our necklaces, we had the stars, we had the braids. Like people just gave to us as a group and nourished the group. And then we were also able to give and learn from the communities that we were working for. So I think that groundedness and like a sense of purpose, that's what I've heard. Some students have texted me since the program saying like, I miss that feeling of purpose, and I really want to keep giving and keep exploring in these ways.
That's powerful right there. Hopefully we can all continue to work towards that. Jeanelle, do you have any, and Alex, I'm going to ask you this question too, so you can think about it. But Jeanelle, do you have any advice for somebody that is thinking about taking some version of a gap? Like, what would you say to them?
Do it. Yeah, I think listen to your why. Like block out all the voices, whether those are teachers, guidance counselors, family members, that are saying like this is what you should do, and just step back, like take a moment for yourself and think, okay, what, like why do I want this time? Like not time off, but time, intentional time. And yeah, maybe you don't even need to fully know what this time will give you or be sure, but just really listening. Okay, do I want this? And trusting that, I think, is important.
Well said. Alex, what would you say? Somebody that's
I would
thinking
also
about a
say
gap.
do it. I struggled a lot with what people would think of me when I say that I am taking a gap. So that was probably a big thing to work through, but I say totally go for it. Like right now, I went on the short-term program, which turned out to be like I didn't want to, but it turned out to be the best because I wanted to go on the long program. But I'm gonna start just like taking college classes in the beginning of January. Like you can shorten your gap to however long you want, but once you start college and that first 2 months, then you can't say, oh wait, I need a break. Like I would say be proactive, start your break now, and then you can dive into college or wherever you are in that process, like afterwards. Because if you find that you are satisfied with that break, with my, I don't know how long it's been, like 3 months ish of break, then you can like do what I'm doing and go to like just take classes at your local community college. Like I think it's best to just rest. Oh, that rhymes. Oh, I should get that on a t-shirt or something. But yes, I say do it, because you can always go back to college, but it gets harder the longer you wait, I think, to take a gap year.
Some really cool moments right here. A couple photos. Anything that you want to call out in particular or point people to as we wrap up here?
The top left corner is at La Isla, and that was the mangroves that I was talking about. You can't see that well in that picture, but I am covered, like skin is covered in mud. I literally got out of the mud pit and the guy was like, okay, let's take a photo. And I was like, you're joking, right? What else?
You were impressively muddy, Alex. Yes.
It really was. Right under that picture with the kayak stuff, that was so much fun. But it was like you do a mix of service learning projects and also like touristy stuff. Like we went whitewater rafting and kayaking and all that stuff. I think the balance was incredible. And so that was ridiculously fun. Like I was sore the next day, but it was awesome. Also, the nature there. I'm sorry, I can like talk
I
forever
love the
about
energy,
this.
Alex. It's great.
But the nature, the monkeys that you see just at breakfast outside, like that's incredible to me. It's like their version of squirrels. Oh, because I'm sorry, I'm from New York. I realize there are
Yes.
people all over the world. Yes, I'm from New York, so lots of squirrels. But you see monkeys and butterflies and iguana, lizard, bearded dragon looking things just on the road, like incredible. Anyways,
Sloth.
sloths. We saw sloth. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you both for sharing these photos. Thank you for sharing your stories, more importantly, and thanks for being here this evening. So hopefully everybody that was able to join and listen, I know like obviously we're gonna have folks listen to this after the fact. We've got a fellow New Yorker, Alex, that's listening in and can resonate with you as well. Awesome. Thank you all for being here tonight. I know everyone's got busy lives and lots of things to attend to the middle of the week. So we're gonna let everybody jump from here. Alex and Jeanelle, unfortunately, you're both so awesome that you might have to come back. So I apologize in advance, but thank you for sharing your time with us this evening, and we'll all talk to everybody soon. Okay? Logging out.
Thank you. Bye.